Hey, what's up everybody? Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm JayDreamerZ and I want to talk to you kind of spur of the moment about Facebook cracking down on fake news. Apparently they're really going to crack down on fake news right now. And I wanted to go over this mostly because it's affected me. I got a little notification when I tried to log into Facebook using my phone, and it gave me an update on all the different ways that they're going to be cracking down and getting rid of fake news and whatnot. And I tried to keep the update on the phone, but it disappeared all on its own, and it simply told me that Facebook has now been updated. So I really wanted to go over this with everyone because I feel like this is something very important. And basically they've come out with a lot of various policies. Now, I did a little video on Facebook, however, I couldn't really talk about it, and I'm sure you understand why. We're going to get into the be careful, you don't have to. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with, I'm going to read some of the community standards here from Facebook. This is out of Section 4, Integrity and Authenticity from the Facebook website. This is Section 18 entitled False News. Policy Rationale. Reducing the spread of false news on Facebook is a responsibility that we take seriously. We also recognize that this is a challenging and sensitive issue. We want to help people stay informed without stifling productive public discourse. There's also a fine line between false news and satire or opinion. For these reasons, we don't remove false news from Facebook, but instead significantly reduce its distribution by showing it in lower in the news feed. It goes on to say, we are working to build a more informed community and reduce the spread of false news in a number of different ways. Namely, now, I'm going to read the ways that they're going to reduce false news, and I want you to keep in mind the vocabulary that's being used. And also keep in mind that we live in a maritime contractual law working world. We don't live according to the laws of the land, or we are strongly encouraged not to, but by this contractual law. So this is contract speak. There's another word for that too. So this is how Facebook is going to get rid of false news stories. By disrupting economic incentives for people, pages. You're not going to believe this, but as I was reading that, it just went to a different thing. That's interesting. So let's see if I can get back there. I didn't touch it. Okay, so disrupting economic incentives for people, pages, and domains that propagate misinformation. Also using various signals, including feedback from our community, to inform a machine learning model that predicts which stories may be false. Reducing the distribution of content rated as false by independent third-party fact checkers. Also empowering people to decide for themselves what to read, trust, and share by informing them with more context and promoting news literacy. Also, and finally, collaborating with academics and other organizations to help solve this challenging issue. Now, before we get into what all of that actually means, what it really means to read between the lines and figure out what they're trying to say, this is one of the problems with these organizations and these companies, which Facebook is a company. It recently just changed its community guidelines or whatnot to terms and conditions of use. That's contractual speak for we are a business, you are the consumer. Here's the laws, here's the rules that you must abide by when you come onto our ship. Because we're setting sail and you're going to obey our laws if you're on our ship. That's kind of what that breaks down to in layman's terms. One of the other problems is that this happens all over the place. It's not just with the corporations, but the court systems and all of the laws in every country. They're written in a way that people just can't understand them. They can't know about them. They don't understand what it is that they're reading. And that's another thing. Let's just talk simply, right? Whenever you log into Facebook or any other application and they have terms of use and here's our contract, etc., and it's like 18 pages long and you're scrolling through all of those words, most people are just going to say, fine, whatever, just let me use the product, because they don't get right to the point and say, here's what this really means. Here's an example. Here's what we're going to do. They don't explain it. They don't break it down, and they don't want to, because they don't want you to understand, to realize. I mean, they do want you to stand under what they're saying, but they don't want you to have comprehension of what they're saying, really. They don't want you to know what it is that you're getting into. So that's just one little area that I could find, and you really have to search for this stuff. That's on the phone. I'm going to pull up the actual articles here on the computer in just a moment. But that's their policy. This is their policy. They're basically, let's go ahead and go over this, and I'll re-explain it. So the first thing that they're going to do, and we're talking about Facebook and how they're going to eradicate false news. First, let me say this, okay? It's not false news. It's a lie. Something is either true or a lie, right? It's the truth or it's not the truth. Or it's opinion, or it's perspective. But there isn't any such thing as false news. It's something that's just being presented. And the way that it's always worked is that you, the public, get to decide if you believe in it, if you don't believe in it, if you reserve judgment until you acquire more information. It's not designed, the news that comes onto the television every day, where it's like, boop, 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 this just in, breaking news. Here's what you need to know. And sometimes they'll literally say, here's what you need to know. It's not supposed to be that we're doing the digging for you. We're going to find out the reality for you. And then we're going to let you know what that reality is. And you need to believe it. You need to side with us. Basically, what they're saying without saying it, and it's not just Facebook, but it's all of these various organizations. What they're saying is, if you don't side with what we're saying, because we're in control of the media, we're in control of how you receive the information, we're in front of you all of the time. If you don't believe us, then you are an enemy of the entity, okay? You're in the wrong. And it really goes into independent thought, which is something that we'll talk about here in a minute as well. But one of the things that Facebook in particular is doing is they're going to allow the public, the mainstream public, with all of its mainstream indoctrination and belief systems and ideals that have all been conditioned for us throughout our lives, they're going to allow the public to flag any post that is deemed fake. You can flag it as fake. And whenever it's flagged as fake, basically what Facebook is saying is we're going to put it so far down that nobody can really see it. Because they don't really want to step on people's toes, but that's exactly what's happening. That's what they're doing. So the problem with that is, if you're an independent researcher, if you're an alternative thinker, then you any type of alternative thought or independent thought is now up for grabs and can be flagged by the general public. What's the general public going to enjoy watching? What kind of posts do you think the general public is going to accept? I don't know, probably rednecks fighting each other, bum fights, pod challenges and all this weird stuff that the world is accustomed to accepting today. Jessica Lynn, thank you so much for your donation. That's the problem with that. It's all mainstream. You're saying we're going to let the public decide, but the problem with the public at large is it is group think. It's group thought. It's what everyone has been indoctrinated to understand and to how to see and perceive the world. No longer, gone are the days where you're going to be allowed to have your own worldview or your own belief system or your own ideas or thoughts. Or philosophy. Philosophy in itself is going to be eradicated through processes like this. Because philosophy requires reasoning balanced with creativity, to really get into your own thinking, your own ideas, unique and innovative ideas as well. It's not just talking about this is what happened today. It's talking about reality and what reality is being presented to you, to me, and to everyone else. So that's a huge problem, allowing the public at large, the mainstream, to go ahead and just flag anything that's not mainstream, basically. And that's going to be their way of allowing us to police ourselves, right? And that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for us to police ourselves in the way that we allow the mainstream indoctrinated and conditioned world to go ahead and keep the innovators and the thinkers and the creative minds from expressing themselves. Let's see. The other thing is freedom of speech. That's one of the wonderful things about America, is that we have freedom of speech, and some of the other countries around the world as well. However, when they say that you have freedom of speech, I think that's a long lost idea, and most people know and understand you really don't. You have no freedom of speech. What you have is the freedom to say what agrees with what has already been set up by the mainstream, by those who are in charge of you. If you say something that correlates with what's been allowed, if you say something that correlates and lines up with what's been taught in the school system, then you have freedom of speech. If you say anything alternative, if you suggest that people think on their own and have independent thought, do their own research and look into things, weigh things out on their own, then that's you don't have freedom of speech. It's taken away from you. You can get arrested, you can get shot, you can get killed, you can get humiliated, you can have your accounts removed, you can lose money, So they really tighten up everything when it comes to those types of things. The other thing is that Facebook is going to employ what they call fact checkers. So they're going to have these third-party fact checkers out there making sure that what's being presented is true and accurate according to what is accepted by the mainstream thought, mainstream society. All of those things. So any type of conspiracies, any type of alternative thought, any type of alternative medicine or living or any of that is going to be out of the window, because the fact checkers are going to look into it, compare it with all of the certifications, and that's the other thing. The fact checkers are all certified. They all are certified and approved and stamped and all of that. Because the fact checkers need to go through the system themselves, and they're going to check the facts against the system itself. What does the system say? Well, this doesn't add up to what the system says, so it's not a fact. It's not true. It's not believable. Leadfoot. Hey, thanks, Leadfoot. And so anyhow, these are the fact checkers. Now, what's the problem with having a fact checker, right? They make it sound so innocent, as if they're out there trying to find out the truth and see if it lines up with reality. The problem is, what do you consider to be a fact? Because people are going to jump onto social media and they're going to share their ideas, their views, their experience in life. Are you going to check those facts as well? If I jump onto social media and start talking about what I did during the course of my day, are those facts going to be checked to make sure I was in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing according to mainstream thought and society, according to what the system tells me, or can I tell a white lie? Can I embellish? Can I keep some information from the public because I'd like to have a personal life? Those are the types of facts that are going to start, coming into play. They get to check anything to make sure that it's factual. And honestly, what do they consider fact? The only thing they consider to be a fact is what is accepted by the school system, by the government, by the public at large, by all of these Walmart zombies you see bumping into each other in the world that you walk around in today. So, I'm not a huge fan of any of this, the fact checkers, the policies, the public being able to flag anything that they don't deem to be true or acceptable or anything. So now you can't really question anything, honestly. That's what that boils down to. Facebook is also going to be implementing, according to my understanding of what we just read, artificial intelligence and advanced algorithms to be able to predict what is going to be true or not. Let me go ahead and compare that with with what we read. Actually, let's just go ahead and hit all of these in a row. Disrupting economic incentives for people. Do you see how they talk? Do you see that? Why do you have to say disrupting economic incentives for people? Why don't you just say taking people's money away? Why don't you just say, we're going to stop paying people who have our ads on Facebook. We're going to demonetize. We're going to take your money away from you. That's what that means. But they don't say it like that. They say, disrupting economic incentives for people. Pages and domains that propagate misinformation. Well, what's misinformation? And you know what? What if you're wrong? You know, we've all been wrong, haven't we? If we saw something and then later on we were like, oh man, I was totally wrong about that. You're not allowed to be wrong now. But that's not the problem. It's not that we're not allowed to be wrong. It's that they're going to tell us what is right. And they don't come right out and say, here's what you can talk about, here's what you can't talk about. Honestly, I wish that they would do that. I think it would be a lot easier and a little bit more transparent for them to just, and not just Facebook, but all of the platforms and government and everyone, if they would just be direct, black and white. Just say, listen, here is a list. They can go post it on all of the churches and all of the Walmarts and all of the wonderful places that people go to. And they could just have a list and say, here are the things you are allowed to talk about. Here are the things you are not allowed to talk about. Because that's what they're doing already. They're just being passive aggressive about it. They're just being insincere, you know, pretending. They put on these big smiles like, oh, we're so concerned about you and your safety and your information that you have access to. So we're going to do all of the thinking for you. We're going to do all of the presentations for you. We're going to make sure that you get what we want you to get, as opposed to you searching for things on your own and just exploring the world, you know? Anyhow, let's get back to how they word this stuff. So the next one on the list says, using various signals, including feedback from our community. Welcome, Charles. Using various signals, including feedback from our community, to inform a machine learning model. This is already too much. This is already too much, man. This is all verbiage, words that are designed to have you lost in the sauce. You know, you're just hypnotized. You're basically like, okay, that sounds smart. All right. Using various signals. Okay. That's kind of up for grabs. I don't know what they mean when they say various signals, but they're going to be sending signals somehow, including feedback from our community. Now, they say our community, and you're supposed to assume that you're included in that community, but that's not what it means. That's kind of like in the Constitution when it says, we the people. Now, that doesn't include you. That doesn't include me. You and I, we are not included in the capital we, the capital people, okay? That's special people. That's us who are writing this out, okay? And that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting from the way that they're wording this. To inform a machine learning model that predicts which stories may be false. Basically what that means in regular average person talk is that they're going to be using advanced artificial intelligence and algorithms to take all of the information about the possible suspects of the fake news, those channels, those people, those pages who are constantly giving an alternative view, those pages who are constantly being flagged by the same general public that's had the same public education or indoctrination, which we all know that's what that is. Your 12 years of schooling is only good if you want to be on Jeopardy. That's all that's really good for. So if you say anything that disagrees with all of that schooling, then you're going to be flagged. Now, this is nothing new. I want you to know this. The people who are in charge of our realm today, they have advanced artificially intelligent super quantum computers underground, and this is no secret. This is nothing that I'm making up. Of course, how would you know, right? Look into it. Go do your own research, you know. But I also encourage people to go with what resonates within them. You should always balance the two. Balance your facts with your gut, with your intuition, you know. Anyway, they have advanced supercomputers underground, lots of them, and they put together all of the information. Facebook is old news. Facebook is just making public in a cartoon style what has already been implemented and already existed for many, many years. They build dossiers. They have folders on every single person who has ever had a birth certificate or ever been recorded or given our information willingly or unwillingly. And they build all of these dossiers, and then in the same manner, those advanced artificially intelligent algorithms, supercomputers, quantum computers, whatever you want to call them, they put you and me in order from who is the biggest threat to who is the least threat, to those who are subservient and a part of the system. This is nothing new. And Facebook's basically saying, we're going to do something kind of like that. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, Facebook is reducing the distribution of content rated as false by independent third-party fact checkers. Okay, so when they say independent, they're not really independent. I am independent. Many of you out there are independent. Okay, but what they're going to do is what they're saying they're going to do is hire some people who know the truth, the way that it's supposed to be, those who have the facts, and they're going to cross-reference things using their algorithms and supercomputers to come up with the truth for you, because they love you and care about you so very much, right? So they have these fact checkers. Now remember, they're not just going to check the facts of news stories like, something crazy that just happened and it's newsworthy. But news is anything. News is reality. News is the daily grind of life. News is where you went, what you did. You are a part of the news, the system, the world at large. So all of the things that you say you are, you believe in, you perceive, and you do, your actions are news. I mean, they might not be all that interesting to everybody, but it's still news, and they can still check the facts to see whether or not you're being honest, genuine, disingenuine, etc. I find it to be very ironic because I'm talking to a screen right now, much like a really popular book that was written about a year, sometime in the 80s. But all of this stuff is very much in line with that. Now, as a part of the algorithms, I just want to let you guys know, when it comes to speaking publicly on various platforms, right? A lot of the people who are daring and developing the courage to share our thoughts about reality, about history, about news, about the world, and about ourselves and others, we find that nowadays we are being forced to walk on eggshells. What do I mean by that? I mean that there are literally things that I cannot say right now. There are literally things that I am not allowed to talk about because there are repercussions. Bad things can happen, for me at least. Maybe not for you, but for those people who are doing the stepping up, those people who are doing the sharing. And they don't come right out and tell you this. I wish they would. I wish they would just come out and say, hey, here's the deal. If you mention this, if you put these certain words together, you will be flagged and you will be a problem, right? But they don't say that because they don't want the rest of everyone else, all of the group thinking individuals, to go, hey, that's not fair. I don't know about that. So let's move on. They're going to reduce the distribution of content, etc., etc. What that means is they're not going to let people see what you're talking about. You can still have it up there, but it's not going to be in their news feed. It's not going to be in their post. It's not going to be in all of the things that are coming up. They're basically saying we're going to make it really difficult for anyone to find the information that you're putting out there. Now, does that sound like freedom? Does that sound like freedom of speech? Does that sound like you're able to communicate with the world however you'd like to? I don't know. And I'm breaking up right now because of the green screen, so don't get all crazy reptilian on me, okay? The next thing, empowering people to decide for themselves what to read, who to trust, and what to share by informing them with more context and promoting news literacy. What that means in regular understanding, is that we're going to tell you how to interpret these things. That's all it means. We're going to tell you how to process the information that you're getting. You don't need to figure out how to process it. You don't need to do that on your own. We're going to instruct you in how to do that. We're going to empower you. It's not empowerment. You're taking away power. You know, the power is to do whatever you want, whenever you want, to say whatever you want, to respond to what others say and do however you want to. That's empowerment. That's freedom. But what they're saying is, no, we're going to empower you to decide for yourself what to read, what to trust, etc. I'm sorry, don't we already have that? Don't we already have the power to just decide what to read, what to look into, what to be interested in? You know, what tickles our fancy, etc. No, they're going to empower us to do that. Well, that kind of implies that we didn't have that power in the first place, right? All right, moving on to this last one. I'm just rewording what they've said so that you can get an idea. You know, this is why contracts and things like that, most people, they just sign it. They don't even care. They don't even bother, man. They know that there's repercussions. They know that bad things can happen to good people who don't just sign on the dotted line, you know? So I just want to kind of tell you what it really means, basically. Last but not least, we will be collaborating with academics. Let's stop right there. What's academics, right? What they don't mean like, well, let me tell you what they do mean. What they do mean is they're going to be they're going to be working with mainstream academia. Okay, so whatever is taught in the school systems, whatever is okay with the government, whatever is okay by Bill Nye the Science Guy and, you know, your other puppets that tell you what to think, when to think, and how to think, that's academia, okay? What they're implying is you are not academia. You are not a learned, educated individual, so you are not worthy for them to go ahead and check on things with. They have people that they'll do that with, but not you. So to continue on, they will be collaborating with academics and other organizations to help solve this challenging issue. Let me ask you guys a question. When has this ever been an issue for you? You know, when have you ever seen something that has been on television during prime time and they say, you know, false news was reported today. I can't, now personally, now see, here's the problem. They invert everything. Everything is being inverted. Good is called evil. Evil is called good. And everything in our world is upside down. I've talked about this a few times. So what they're doing is they're basically telling you, let me pull it back up here, that this is a challenging issue for you. That's what they're saying. They're saying this is, we understand. They're trying to come across like they're being empathetic, like they're being caring, like they're really showing your best interest. When in reality, it's not a problem for you. It's not a problem for me. If somebody's on Facebook or somebody's on YouTube and they're like, oh, you know, I think the world is flat, or I think that such and such an event wasn't real, or I think it was all staged, or I'm not too sure about the mainstream teachings when it comes to this particular subject. That doesn't bother me too much, you know? I'm glad that people have the platform to speak their perspectives and their minds, even if it's something that I disagree with. They should have that freedom and that right to do that, just like I should as well. But what they're saying is, we're going to take care of this problem. We're going to tackle this issue. It's an issue for them, not for us, not for you and me. You know, we should be able to have all of the options, check them out, and choose which one resonates the best with us, right? But it's that in itself is the problem. The problem is variety. The problem is people being able to get out there and to talk about, you know, whatever they perceive in the world today. Now, the caveat, the loophole to all of this is there are a small number of those people out there that intentionally want to just screw with people. You know, the trolls of the world, people who are out there purposefully trying to get their kicks on how many views they can get with, you know, clickbait or whatever it may be. And I understand that, but it's your responsibility to go ahead and not watch it. Don't subscribe to that channel. Don't look at that Facebook page. Once you realize, oh, this is what that person's about. But the mainstream group thinking, gang mentality of the world that we live in, they eat it up. They love it. They're going to click on it again. And they love seeing people get tricked and deceived and whatnot. So that's just on my phone. You know, we haven't even really got to the Facebook website itself and what they say on the website. So just to cover a few things, if you're joining us just now, we're going over Facebook and other organizations that are cracking down on fake news. I don't like the term fake news. It should be called lies. That's what it should really be called. You know, something's true, or it's a lie, or it's a perception. You know, there's somewhere in the middle there. And you should be allowed to listen to other people's perceptions, their ideas, their theories, you know. Theory, just the word theory itself is starting to get a real negative connotation in the popular world of today, you know. Nobody likes a theory, and those things that are accepted as theories by the mainstream, they're not even considered theories anymore. For example, gravity. Gravity is a theory. Period. It's always been a theory. It's an idea. It's a suggestion. It's a perception that somebody has had, but they pass it off as if it's law, it's fact, it's true, it's unbreakable, unbeatable, and it's here to stay. Okay. Anyhow, I just want to make sure everything's working good. If anything happens and the stream messes up or the quality starts to disrupt, let me know in the chat so that I can check on things. But we're about halfway done. We're going to wrap things up here pretty soon. So Facebook and other platforms, they use things like they redirect their policies. They allow the public to go ahead and flag information. So everything is going to be weeded out that does not agree with what everyone in the world, popular opinion, popular thought, which isn't really opinion. Okay, popular opinion isn't opinion at all. It's indoctrination. It's programming. That's why they want you to watch your programs so that you can become programmed. That way, your response, it's like the movie Inception. You see, they're putting ideas in your head, and later on, subconsciously, when you come across something that reminds you of that, you don't remember where you got the idea from. You think you thought of it all on your own. That's Inception. Freedom of speech, pretty much been taken away from us, you know. Those truth seekers, those truth channels out there have to be real careful about how they word things, what they allude to, what they're talking about. And like I said before, that's why all of the greatest and most wise teachers of history have always spoken in parables, in metaphors, because those who are looking for the information will get it. Everyone else will simply be entertained by a story. So they're going to be using fact checkers to look into all of the facts, not just newsworthy events, but facts, period. Whatever they deem to be factual, they need to check on it to make sure. So how far are they going to push that, you know? They're going to be using advanced artificial intelligence and algorithms to determine, you know, who the culprits are, who needs to get flagged, who needs to get their content blocked, basically, from anyone looking at it. And how about open platforms? You know, a lot of you out there have basically noticed all of these things that are going on. And see, this is the silent weapon that's been used against us that Bill Cooper talked about in his book, Behold a Pale Horse. The silent weapon is one that the public can't comprehend. They don't understand that a weapon is actually being used against them because it makes no obvious sound. It makes no obvious noise. It does no obvious harm, but it does all of those things. It's just simply not recognized because our ability to perceive it has been filtered out. There is a perception filter over the world at large today. So many people are like, well, where can I go? You know, where else is there? Basically, all of these platforms have a monopoly. And, you know, they gain popular opinion. People get used to them. And they're like, I don't know where else I can go, you know, because do you want to go onto another platform that no one really uses and then nobody's really listening to you, etc.? So that's another question, you know, and that's one of the things that we should be coming together to resolve, to figure out. The other thing I was going to talk about is sharing independent investigations, sharing your perceptions and your experience. This is something that you have a right to do. You have the right to share it with whoever would like to listen to you. You know, what is infringing upon your God-given natural law of the land right is people saying, we're not going to allow you access to any of this information. Here's your path. You can walk on this path, but you can't walk on any other path. That's an infringement upon your actual freedoms, having been born on the land, the same as everybody else, born right here on top, on the land, on the ground. You know, you have the right to explore, the right to talk, the right to breathe, the right to feel, the right to think, the right to agree or disagree or look into things or not look into things. You have the right to be ignorant if you would like to. But to force ignorance upon people isn't right. Wouldn't you say? Don't people have the right to be ignorant? Yes, and I say let them be ignorant. That's absolutely fine. As for me and my people, we're seeking the truth. Now, the truth is hidden from us, so we need to go find it. We are ignorant of the truth. We recognize it, and we don't want to be ignorant. We don't want to be without the information, so we're seeking the information. Now, if somebody says, well, you can seek this information, but no other information, that's forcing ignorance upon people. Let me just check here. I'm going to actually go to Facebook's website. And I just want to check a couple of things. Let's see. How is Facebook addressing false news through third-party fact checkers? It says we're partnering with third-party fact checkers. What the hell is a third-party fact checker? You know, is that a job? Do they put that job in the newspaper for people to, to apply for? We're partnering with third-party fact checkers to fight the spread of false news on Facebook in 3 key areas. Learn more about blah, 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 blah. Let's see, reducing the distribution of false news, fact-checking stories, placing false news lower in the news feed, taking action against pages and websites that repeatedly share false news. Really, taking action against pages and websites, ultimately people who are in charge of them, that share false news. You see how they don't take responsibility for taking action against humans, against living, breathing human beings who are alive on the world, right? No, they're taking action against pages and websites. Okay, well, those pages and websites are ran by real, breathing, experiencing beings for the most part. Well, I don't know about for the most part, but this one is. Pages that repeatedly share false news will see their distribution reduced and their ability to monetize and advertise removed. So if you make money, on those platforms, you're not going to be any longer. And you're going to go out and get you a regular daily grind job. Providing more information if you see false news. It says providing more context on false news stories. If third-party fact checkers write articles providing more information on a news story, you will see the articles immediately below the story in your news feed. So what that's basically saying is if you see something that is newsworthy, if you see some information, the third-party fact checkers are going to go in and they're going to write their own little article saying this has been approved by the third-party fact checkers, or fact checkers, I should say. But if it's not approved, if you're just a little guy out there and you're just reporting on things that you've seen in your neighborhood, your state, your area, your thoughts and opinions on the world, you might not have the approval of the third-party fact checkers, and which basically is going to be, it's going to be deemed as not true. Your information is going to be uncertified. It's going to be unapproved. And this is exactly the problem that we've had in the world for a very long time. This is where the canonization or the approval of what they call the Bible came into play. Hundreds of years ago, an emperor named Constantine got a council of representatives from the Mediterranean area together, and he said, we're going to fact check all of these different ancient scriptures and historical records, and we're going to put them together in an approved book for the public to have. You don't get to check out all these other books. And guess what happened a long time ago? After they canonized the Bible, after they put all of these different stories and writings and histories and poems, when they put them all together into an approved section, automatically the public assumed everything else was not true, not inspired, not correct, and so they avoided it. So they stopped learning about those alternative ideas and things, and they only learned the things that were given to them and presented as approved by the Wizard of Oz, basically. Okay, so let me go back to the website here and see if there's anything else worth reading. Learn how to spot false news. Oh, this is wonderful. You know, they say things like false news is usually in all caps with a bunch of exclamation points. Okay, great. Well, now I don't have to walk on eggshells as to how I title my live streams, or you know what I mean, stuff like that. They're like, beware, watch out for false news, etc. See, the thing that they're not acknowledging are the pictures that I've put up over here to the right, okay? All of the newscasters, there's a reason that they're called newscasters. They're spellcasters is what they are. You know, they are magicians and wizards, and I don't know if they know it or not, but that's exactly what's happening, you know? Spellcasting is very real. They are newscasters. They also go by the laws of the ocean, and so they are the news anchors, right? The anchor is the thing that stops, that holds everything together. When you're in the water and everything is very unstable, the anchor keeps you stable. It provides stability. So that's why they're called the news anchors. This is all designed so that you will believe it, so that you will go along with it, and so that you will side with them, so that you lose all of your independent thought. Another thing that I just want to point out, when you watch the news, which I haven't for a very long time, but they will always use colors, color schemes, sigils, symbols, stuff like that, that speak to your subconscious. So you automatically are getting involved. You're with it. For example, the color blue, right? The color blue conveys authority from above. The sky is blue. And so it's basically a color that gives the impression of divine acceptance, divine authority, something that is righteous and good from above. Right? So that's why they use blue almost all the time in their backgrounds and stuff like that. And that's another reason why I've chosen to use green as mine. Because green is earthy, and, you know, that's where we are. So, anyhow, let me go ahead and pull that back up. Let's see, they've got tips to spot false news. Oh, never mind. I'm going to get right back into the regular news, okay? So, why are they not applying... Now, this is a rhetorical question, which means I already know the answer, and many of you do too, but if you don't, just think about it. Why are they not? Why aren't they applying all of these regulations and rules, etc., to the television, to these guys, you know, to the newscasters, to the anchormen, to the reporters? Do you think that any of these people who are in front of the screen know anything about what they're saying? They're actors. All they're doing is reading a script. And that's not an embellishment. They have a teleprompter. I don't have a teleprompter. I'm shooting from the hip. Like, I'm just talking to you guys. I could not do anything. I could just be retarded and stupid. I could just be senseless if I wanted to, right? I could talk about whatever I want to, but they don't. They go according to their script. They read the teleprompter. It tells you and prompts you what to say. That's all they're doing. And quite often they'll screw it up. They'll mess it up, you know? And they are not allowed to be questioned about it because they're not really investigating. They're reading. Now, there was a viral video that went out a little while ago with all of the different news agencies saying the same exact thing, you know, all of them across the United States. I don't know how far reaching it went into the rest of the world, but all of the news agencies, they all say the same thing. That means that the teleprompter is saying the same thing, which means that somebody somewhere typed this out and sent it all over the world for independent news agencies to go ahead and read. And not only do they read it, but man, they get into it, or they try to. They're just horrible actors, I'm sorry. But they really act concerned, you know? Oh, I'm so concerned about this. Patricia, aren't you concerned about this as well? You know, Dan, I really am concerned about this, you know? They're really not concerned about it. They don't care. They don't know what it is that's even going on. And they don't look into these things as well. They always say that this is coming from, hold on. One of my sources is telling me right now. Yes, I'm getting word from a source. Do you know what the source is in the world we live in the pyramid system that's been designed for us to be consumers, to consume everything, to go around like locusts, just eating everything up and buying everything without actually having a life? Do you know what the source of the pyramid is? It's the top. It's the people who rule the world, the ones who are in charge. That's a source. You know, a source is not some guy in building apartment C105 or, whatever it may be, like on the phone, like, hey, oh, I want to remain anonymous, but I totally just saw this happen. That's what we are supposed to think. That's not what's happening, okay? They don't rub elbows with your common man, okay? They don't come and check in the ghettos or the hoods or nowhere, not even in the inner cities or anywhere. They don't have sources there. The source comes from the elite, the world rulers. In particular, the world rulers have delegated. They have, now this is a little off topic, but I'll just go ahead and mention it real quick. The rulers of the world, or the elite, they have different departments, and they have heads of those departments, okay? And each one, from birth, is raised up to be an expert in his particular area, right? One of those areas is the news, the media, relations with the rest of the world, the public at large, and what to present to them. And it comes from that guy. It comes from that one person. And they type out exactly what to think because they have a conference. They have a meeting of the elite. They come together. They say, what would we like to have happen? Cool. How is your department going to help out, with this end result? With this solution, with what we want to have happen? Well, we can do this. We can type out and we can send it to everybody and they'll all hear it. They'll all see it and they'll all be thinking the same thoughts, which will only amplify the energy and reinforce what we're trying to do. Well, cool. All right. How's your department? And it goes on and on and on. That's exactly what's happening when you watch the news. Where are the independent fact checkers for the major media corporations? There are none. There are no fact checkers. You know who the fact checkers are? Me, us, the individuals, the alternative sources of information out there that are being labeled as fake news. Don't listen to those guys. We're the ones who are out there doing all of the research, The subjects that I talk about here on my channel are things that I dive into. I spend hours and hours taking books and books worth of notes, literally writing a book and looking into these things. I've studied them. They are of particular interest to me. This is only my contribution. There are other channels, other people out there that provide blogs and information about things that they have looked into. They have investigated these topics, these subjects. Do you really think that your local news anchor on television has devoted that much time, that much energy, that much passion into whatever they're reading from a freaking teleprompter? No, they haven't. They don't care. They're actors. They go in, they read the script, and they go home. Okay? Okay, I know I got a little off topic there, but let me go ahead and pull up the old Facebook and see if there's anything else significant. What is our action plan against foreign interference in elections around the world? I don't really care about politics. I don't really want to go over that. When my friend posts something, blah, 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 how does Facebook protect the privacy, blah, 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 blah. What types of ID does Facebook accept? That's okay. I will talk about ID for a moment, okay? I don't care about ID. Welcome, Apexican12. I don't care about IDs, okay? I don't care about birth certificates, identification, driver's license, anything that proves that I have air in my lungs and blood in my veins. Why don't I care about that? Because I know I exist. I know that I'm here. I know that I'm alive. I know that I matter, But the system that we live in has conditioned us to think that these things are of importance to who we are. These things actually prove who we are. How can I validate my identification, etc., blah, 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 blah. So if you have an independent researcher that looks into it and decides, you know what? We don't need a driver's license to travel. Even if I get into a car and I travel from one place to another, there's no need for me to have approval to do so. That's my decision, and I would like to go about doing that however I'd like to. And if something bad happens as a result of that, then whoever it happens to has the right to react however they want to. Oh, but it's all for your safety and we're doing this, etc., etc. No, it's contract. It's all about money. They want to make sure that you are of age to purchase and to buy and to spend and to do and to say, Now, that being said, I do want to balance out all of that just for a moment with some reasoning, okay? The way that it once was was that not just everybody could speak their mind anytime they wanted to. That's another problem that we have in the world today. And that's not a problem that's being addressed by any truth community that I've seen. It's not being addressed by Facebook or the news or anything. The way it once was there was an age of there was a coming of age, okay? And it depends on how far back in time you go, because the further back in time you go, believe it or not, people were older and older and older, okay? People used to live for hundreds and hundreds of years if you go really far back in time. So anyhow, what I was trying to talk about, I forgot. I just had a total brain fart. Anyhow, so my point is that it all revolves around merchandise. It's all about the merchant marine system. It's all about economics. It's all about money and how that money flows, what direction the money goes in, because the money is only symbolic of your energy, your time. That's what it's symbolic of, where you are, when you are, what you're doing, what you're interested in. And believe me, like I said, it is all being recorded. It's all being stored. For those of you who live in the United States of America, the corporation, you'll notice that almost on every single street corner in every populated area, there are cameras. And they want you to think that that's to enforce the traffic laws. How many stop signs or red lights have you gone through and you've actually had a ticket from one of those cameras? Now, they do have those. However, I can tell you I've ran many red lights, and not once have I ever had, some camera zoom in on my license plate and, write me a ticket, etc. What they're doing is they're simply recording information. They're tracking you. They're just finding out where you are, when you were there, what type of patterns they can develop from that, and how they can shock the system so that they can watch and see how everyone reacts. They record all of those reactions so that the next time they shock the system, they make predictions and they see how accurate their predictions were. And if the predictions aren't 100% accurate, they just tweak things ever so slightly, and then they shock it again, and they sit back and they record and they observe what happens. That way, they can essentially predict and program you and I. What else? Okay, there's another Facebook thing here. Facebook says April 6, 2017, working to stop misinformation and false news. Let's see here. False news is harmful to our community. Okay, time out. Let's stop right there. First of all, harmful. Let's talk about that. How is false news harmful? Okay, I would tend to agree, right, in that the way it should be is that information should be presented and say, here's all of the different options. Whatever sounds right with you, explore that option. You have the freedom to move about the cabin. You have the freedom to walk around. Here are all the possibilities. And if you think of another possibility, go ahead and put that on the table. And then all of the students, all of the people will look at it and they'll take what resonates with them. But they're saying that this is, what did they say? False news is harmful to our community. Okay. It's one of those things where they invert the truth, okay? Because all of this stuff over here, the newscasters, the anchormen, all of this stuff that's being vomited out, word for word, verbatim, by all of these people, to me, that's potentially harmful because people are thinking that, yeah, this must be accurate. This must be true. I put all my trust in these people because why would they lie to me? That's the huge question, right? No matter what conspiracy you look into, no matter what kind of alternative thought you have on life, that's the big question. Why would they lie to me? Well, I encourage you to look into that question yourself. Why would they lie to you? I know why they would lie to me, but that's for you to decide. False news is harmful to our community. There's that trickery again, right? It's not your community. It's not you and me, like us, like our community. No. They're talking about them, okay? It's harmful to their community, and that's really the way it should be worded. False news is harmful to our community. It makes the world less informed. Well, that's all a matter of perspective, okay? I give all kinds of news here on my channel, as well do other as well as other truth seekers and other channels and other people on various platforms and emails and instant messages and in person and, writing an old-fashioned letter. We give news all of the time. I talk about the esoteric past. I talk about the alternatives which lead us and take us to the present day, which help to give us more information and purpose and meaning in life. But does the television do that? I don't think so. False news is harmful to our community. It makes the world less informed and it erodes trust. Well, like I said, world, why is that not being applied to yourself? It's just not. It's all manipulative. It's upside down and it's the reverse of what it should be. They go on to say it's not a new phenomenon, and all of us, tech companies, media companies, newsrooms, teachers, have a responsibility to do our part in addressing it. No, you really don't. You really don't have a responsibility. Your responsibility is to allow the public at large to do what you said that they can do, which is to speak their mind. That's it. Once you allow that, you can wash your hands. You could say, hey man, we allowed you a platform to talk about whatever you want to, and they did, right? So no, it's not your responsibility to do your part in addressing what you determine based on academics and the public flagging everything to be true or false. We get to decide. Each individual gets to decide what's true or false in our minds, in our hearts, according to our walks, our passions, our beliefs, our experiences. And they might not all agree. They might not all line up. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. Let's see. We have a responsibility, blah, blah, blah. At Facebook, we're working to fight the spread of false news in 3 key areas. Disrupting economic incentives, which means taking people's money away. Building new products to curb the spread of false news. Now, when they say building new products, they're talking about artificial intelligence. They're talking about quantum computers. They're talking about all of these things that are going to use their advanced algorithms to shock the public, to sit back, to observe, to record, and then to predict, Or, simply put, problem, reaction, solution, right? Helping people make informed decisions. I don't need your help to make an informed decision. I'm a grown-up, okay? I'm mature, all right? Well, I am maturing. I shouldn't say I'm completely mature, but I don't need your help. And matter of fact, you didn't ask me if I wanted your help. Isn't that my right? Isn't it my right to go and ask for help when I decide, okay, I might need a hand? But instead, you're infringing upon my right to not have help, and you're saying, we're going to have to insist on helping you out, right? Bullcrap. Let's see, then they go into individual ones, building new products. Oh, let's check that one out. We're building, testing, and iterating on new products to identify the limit of spread of false news. Basically, they're going to really start keeping track of everything, which we already know they're doing, so they must be doing it even more so, right? We cannot become arbiters, which means like representatives, of truth ourselves. See, this is a false sense of humility. We can't become arbiters of truth ourselves. It's not feasible given our scale, and it's not our role. This is a false sense of humility. This is exactly what they're doing. They are becoming arbiters, representatives, avatars of truth, justice in the American way. But they're saying they're not. That's just not true. That's false in and of itself. That's exactly what they're doing. But it's this false sense of humility. They're saying, oh, this is all yours. This is all you guys. We're just going to help you out because, you've asked us for it. You've demanded it. And we heard your voice. Pfft, crap. Just not true. Let's see. Where was I? Instead, we're working on better ways to hear from our community and work with third parties to identify false news. See, that's what they're saying. This is not our job. We're not going to crack down on truth and who's right and who's wrong and who should be heard and who should not be heard. You guys are demanding this. Don't listen to that. That's not true because I can tell you right now, I can tell you one person that did not demand any of that. Me. I didn't demand it. And I'm guessing there are many people out there just like me in that regard. Let's see here. We're working on better ways to hear from our community and work with third parties. What are you talking about? We are third parties. All those people that use Facebook, they're all third parties. You know what I mean? The people who are not third parties, well, see, that's the problem. Facebook does, if you're on Facebook, they don't consider you a third party because it's a business transaction. Now, you might think you're using a free service and it's just some awesome company that has your best interest and they want to give you a free gift, but that's not how this world is set up. In this world, under maritime law, there's no such thing as free. Okay, so you're not considered a third party, neither am I, because I'm using it. I'm on it. I have a Facebook page, so I'm no longer a third party. Third parties have to be those people who don't have Facebook pages. Let's go ahead and read a little bit more here. Work with third parties to identify false news and present it from spreading on our platform. Okay. Some of the work includes ranking improvements. So they're going to improve a ranking system that they have. Ranking just means putting things that they like and they agree with way up at the top and things that they don't way down at the bottom. One second. We're always looking to improve news feed by listening to... Now, let me tell you something. They call this a news feed, okay? Have you seen what's on the news feed? Nothing on the news feed is significant or important that I've ever seen. Now, you know, I'm a little biased in what I'm talking about because my particular news feed actually gives me a lot of alternative ideas and thoughts. Welcome, RB Brown, by the way. That's my news feed. But I've seen other people's news feed, and that's just ridiculousness. It's entertainment. It's amusement. You know, is that really pertinent to life? Is that really important in what's happening and, you know, how we go about our days? I don't think so. But they're really concerned about the false news that's showing up on the news feed. They don't care about cinnamon challenges and all of the ridiculous things that people are doing, bum fights, and I don't even know what the kids are talking about these days. But they don't care about all that stuff. They love it. They're all about it. What they don't want is false news to show up on the news feed. You can have anything else, all the other garbage on there, and it's totally fine. Let's see, where was I? We found opportunities like the fact that if reading an article makes people significantly less likely to share it, that may be a sign that a story has misled people in some way. So basically, if it doesn't line up with popular opinion or popular conditioning, then they're going to know about it because they have their robots and their artificially intelligent supercomputers that are going to say, ching, oh, this one's not popular. Let's sweep that one under the rug. Right? And it's basically just designed for the robots. It's designed for the zombies. They don't want a spark of light in the darkness, you know? The zombies, they just want to eat brains, you know? And what does that mean, to eat brains? It means they want to take away other people's intelligence, other people's ability to think. That's why zombies eat brains. Don't you know that? Zombies could eat the heart. Zombies could eat any other part of the body, but they don't. They want your brain because they are the non-thinking, non-sentient beings that simply bump into stuff and walk into stuff, and their only goal in life is to take away the ability to think from other people. It's a zombie world. Blah, blah, blah. Easier reporting, blah, blah, blah. Working with partners, blah, 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 blah. Helping people. Okay. Anyway, I don't need help. I don't need your help. I don't want your help. I didn't ask for it. You know, a button didn't pop up saying, would you like Facebook to help you in this area or that area? They just decide, just like the government, just like the system in and of itself, that Big Brother is going to step up and we're going to help you. You know, we've heard your call. We've heard your cry. And honestly, it's because we gave it away. We give our own power away. We give our rights away. One little thing at a time. Because like I always say, that's something that the elites have going for them. Okay? They're patient. They can wait hundreds of years for things to play out. Can you? Can you wait that long? Can you raise up a family and make sure that it's put into the the family generation after generation to be wary, to be cautious, to be a critical thinker, to watch out? Or are you just living in the moment, living in the now, trying to get as much as you can and consume as much as you can in the baby amount of lifespan that you have, the small amount of years that you live? They know you're impatient to get that life lived, and so they take the life away from you as a cost. That's pretty much all I really wanted to say about that. I don't have any credits to roll today because this was a very spontaneous live stream and video because I was very impassioned about what I had seen. I'm not happy about any of it, and I'm not really venting. I just wanted to put it out there because this has all happened before. This has all been predicted. This is a part of prophecy. This is a part of, science fiction that's been written, decades and decades ago. This is the life that we now live in. And the problem is people are waiting for it to manifest. It's already manifested. It's just happening so slowly that you don't notice it in comparison. Okay? So, this is JayDreamerZ. I am encouraging you to think critically, to ask questions, even about me, my channel. If you don't like what I present, don't watch it. You have that opportunity. You have the freedom to not come this way, not to watch it, not to present it, not to comment, or to like it, to enjoy it. If you find it resonates with you, good. I could be wrong. I always can be wrong. I can be wrong about a myriad and multitude and plethora of all kinds of information. I could be wrong. So, don't ever just go right in because you like somebody, because they look appealing to you, because they're attractive, because they sound confident, because they talk with the ghost voice. No. Always weigh it out. Reason it out, right? Think for yourself and go with your intuition. Go with your gut. Go with your feeling, your sixth sense on things. Balance those two things out. But whatever you do, don't sit back, get fat, and be happy because the world seems to be serving you dinner on a golden platter. It's not. Take another look. It's not a golden platter and it's not dinner. It's not there to help. It's not healthy for you. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks for watching, and leave some comments because I'm going to check everything out that you guys have to say about this. I'd like to know more about your opinions and your thoughts. So thanks again, and good night. Bye.